Oh, let's not get into the habit of dancing every single time, Jamie. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Camera. I am your host, Jamie Hain, and I'm all about getting you on camera to help you grow your business. However, growing your business is so much more than just video. And the purpose of this show is to interview guests with expertise in other areas of growing your business. And they're going to share their expertise beyond the camera. And today's guest, first of all, I'm so excited about all of the guests for February. I've actually added a third. We're going to do 3 of them in February. Since it is the month of love, it's all going to be about love, but in particular, we're talking about self-love and how you take care of yourself and why any of that has anything to do and matters at all with growing your business. So I'm super excited for our first guest. She's one of our own. She's a member of the Get on Camera group, and she is in my group coaching program, and she's in the membership. Her name is Sandy Bartlett, and she is a women's empowerment and confidence coach. So please join me in welcoming Sandy to the show. Hello, Sandy.
Hey, hey,
It's so nice to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Do me a favor. Business empowerment coach, a confidence coach. Introduce yourself. Tell us what all that means.
Okay. Well, it's my passion and my mission in life to help women, to work with women, to help them be their best self. And I speak from experience because when I was in the corporate world working full time, I did not put myself first. I lived up to everybody else's expectations of what they thought I should be doing and how I should be and listening to but I wasn't taking care of myself. And it's kind of one of those, I wish I knew then what I know now, because I would have done things a lot differently. And so I'm just so excited to be able to work with women to help them come into their own.
It's
So,
like teaching them what you wish somebody would have taught you back then. Yeah, I totally agree. I love those questions. I see them from time to time. Would you rather have $10 million or a time machine to be able to go back in time and redo now that you know what you know? That's a hard question for me to answer because I don't know. They both sound really, really appealing. How about you? Which would
agreed.
you pick? Which would you pick?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, right?
Because I don't know. I mean, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
and that I say all the time, it is what it is. So to go back and there are things that I don't think I'd want to relive,
Yeah.
and do over. But so yeah, that would be a tough one.
That would be a tough.
I don't know. Yeah.
I have the same challenge. It's like I can't answer the question. So I'd love to know for those of you that are watching us live, and if you're watching the replay, #replay, what would you choose? Okay, let's go ahead and oh, I'm having a squeal. I don't know if it's me. Do you hear that, Sandy? Do you hear a squeal?
No.
Okay, it may just be my ears. Okay. As I said before, you and I have gotten to know each other. You've done a number of challenges with me. You've been in programs with me. What if there was one tip that you would share with everybody else? What's one thing you've learned that you think everybody else should know?
Oh, well, what first comes to mind is you tell us to practice. You give us the space to practice. And so I would say, practice, practice, practice. That's why I've done 3 challenges with you, because I've been doing that. And I will, for those watching that haven't heard me say it before, I've been going live in my group now ever since I started the first challenge with Jamie. I've been going live in my group 3 times a week. And it's been about 90 days since I started doing that. And I guarantee you it is easier. And so, the reality is practicing makes anything easier, whether it's going on camera, whether it's talking to your groups, coaching, or whatever you do, whatever it is that you're passionate about, practicing is the key.
It is the
So
key.
I would say your formula, obviously that's gold. And I can tell you, and for those of you that are still just starting out and still struggling with it, I can get my my lives organized much faster now after, after doing it, for a while. So don't give up,
Yeah.
practice and don't give up.
Such a good message for all of us in all areas of life, for sure. Okay, so let's get into your business. Now, I know you have an acronym, and it's one of those things I wish I had an acronym in my business. I do not, but you do. So tell us, what does it mean to thrive? Tell us what that means.
Okay. Well, so Thrive is actually my signature system, and each letter stands for something different, and it's what I coach on throughout my program. I might call my coaching program something different, but it's still going to cover all of these areas under Thrive. So Thrive stands for transform, heal, restore, impact, visualize, and empower.
Sorry, I was trying to come back in and it wasn't. How was that for leaving there a pregnant pause there? So how do you use Thrive in your, I know you said it's your signature program. How do you use that? Is that just so people can remember those steps, or yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's as I work with women, going through them, I mean, what we're trying to do is transform them, out of whatever is going on, help them have a transformation that they themselves want. I'm not telling you what it is, that comes out of you just by me coaching you and asking you questions. Sometimes there's things we need to heal, internal. I've been seeing a lot of things lately. For some reason, it's so interesting that everybody kind of hits on the same topics at the same time. But
Mhm.
I've been seeing a lot of posts and trainings and all kinds of things on childhood trauma, and that type of thing. Restoring, being able to restore, feel that you feel restored to who you want to be, making an impact, whatever that impact is you want to make, making that, helping you visualize that. I mean, that's so important to see yourself, doing that. And then, of course, empowering women to be that confident badass that's within every single one of us. And I know there's guys out there, but I work with women, so, but you can be a badass too,
Yeah.
So,
I love it. I've got a friend of mine, she uses Thrive as part of her tagline, and it's such a great word because I feel like so often we're just in this rut of life and we're just going through stuff and things and we're not truly thriving in life. And so I love the word. I love how you use it in your program, and I love, kind of what it implies. So I know we're talking today about self-care, and I've posted a number of things on in different places, and there's been a lot of conversation about self-care. But one of the things that you say is that it's not a luxury, it is a necessity. So tell us more about what that means.
well, you may have heard the saying before, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I say that a lot as well, because here's the thing, and particularly as women, and I kind of, because that's my focus, but we have a tendency, we're the caregivers typically. I mean, I think we're seeing a shift in that in general in the world, but typically, as women, we're the caregivers, and we're taking care of everybody else's needs over our own. And Jamie and I were just talking prior to the show starting about when we were both working in the corporate world and the things that we did that didn't really feel like self-care, but in a sense it is, going to get your hair done, going to get your nails done. But maybe stop and think about, well, why am I doing that? Am I doing that for me, or am I doing it because it's a time for me to be away? And for some it is. They don't have a child hanging on their leg or following them to the bathroom, or whatever the case may be. But it's the necessity part is, and it's not, and self-care is not just going to get your nails done or getting massage or getting your hair done. Self-care is taking that time just for you, even if it's only 5 minutes. Go outside, walk barefoot on the grass. Maybe not right now in Texas with the ice. I'm watching the videos of everybody slipping and falling. So, but when you are able to, take that time just for yourself, whether it's, I mean, I listen to guided meditations. I do one every morning and I do one every night. journaling. I mean, there's just so many different aspects of self-care that's more than getting your nails done, getting a massage, or getting your hair done, which that said tends to be the first thing people think of when they think of self-care. And while those are all important, there are a lot of other things that we can do to take care of ourselves. And if we're not doing that for ourselves, then we can't be our best for those around us that we care about, that we want to give to and take care of. So you have to take care of yourself first. And it's not selfish.
It's kind of like that, on an airplane, right? You got to put your own mask on before you can help others.
Exactly.
It's sort of that kind of notion. Now, why? I mean, my intro to this show, I talk about it's all about growing your business. Why is self care? I mean, aren't they separate? Like self care is my personal stuff, and then I got my bit. Like why is it important as part of growing my business?
For me, like, and you, as you and I talked about, so when you're in a corporate environment, or whether, or even just doing your own, business at home, if you're not taking that time for you, case in point, when I was working my corporate job, I never took breaks. I would either bring my lunch or go grab something downstairs real quick, and then I would sit at my desk and eat while I continued to work. I was taking phone calls at night. I was taking phone calls on weekend. Part of that came with the job because of being the director of HR. However, I didn't really have boundaries that I set for myself. And boundaries are a form of self-care. Whether you're a man or a woman, you need to have those boundaries. And so to help you with your business, what I do now, I I give myself permission to take that time. Yes, I'm growing a business. Yes, I want to, have it be successful. And yes, I want to do all those things. But I know I'm not going to be any good to anybody else if I don't take care of me. So what I have learned now that I'm retired from my corporate job and I'm staying at home and I work from home, is I build that time in, you may have heard the term white space on your calendar. I build that white space into my calendar. I typically, making an exception for this, but I typically take Fridays off. So I do my work, Monday through Thursday, and each day I know what I'm going to focus on. That is self-care because you're allowing yourself to establish those boundaries and what you're going to work on and what's a focus, and you also can have the flexibility. But I give myself permission. My two words for this year were ease and play. I want things to be easy and I want to play more. I didn't retire from a working a 40 plus hour job to work my own business and still work 40 plus hours at home. My husband is now retired as well, and it's the first time. Here's the funny thing, okay? We both failed at retirement our first go around, and we both went back to work. So, and we were not retired at the same time. Now we're retired at the same time. I want to be able to go and have fun and go do things when he wants to, take off and go for a hike or go somewhere for the day or whatever. I want to be able to do that with him. So building that, excuse me, building that into my calendar and building that space, it gives you that renewed energy. It gives you that downtime so that you're not feeling like a hamster in a wheel where you never stop. So to me, that's why it's important.
So important. I want to put up this comment uh from Deb about how important it is for it to not to look at it as a luxury. And I know when you first
Mhm.
said those words, Sandy, that was my first thought is I've it really changed my perspective. So I'm wanting to know, for those of you that are joining us, whether it's live or on the replay, I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. How well do you do this? Specifically, what Sandy was just talking about, where you talk about balancing and making white space and making self care a priority and balancing that in with your business. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you do a great job balancing that all in. 1 being there's a balance. So drop a number in comments. Let's look at what kind of results we get. Okay, while you're all doing that, I want to go on to I want to talk a second. I'm switching things around on you, Sandy. One of
Okay.
the things that you have for everybody is a download. Do you want to talk about that for a second since we're kind of on this topic?
I would love to. So I created a document, and honestly, I need to add more to it because I was reading the comments in some of the questions that Jamie asks, and there's a lot of really good things that y'all are doing for self-care, and I didn't put those on the list. But I have a document, and it's a list of 50 plus ideas for self-care. And I've broken them down into things like hobbies and personal and health and habits, and that. So, and there's space in there as well that you can write in your own. And I'm going to add, for future, some of the ones that y'all have put in the comments. But I wanted to share that with you because so often, sometimes people think, well, I don't know what I would do, or maybe you want to try something new. I just did I use Insight Timer. They have an app, and they just did the month of January, they did a healthy habits challenge for 31 days, and it was something different, different habit each day. It was fabulous. And some of them I resonated with more than others. Some of them like, yeah, that's really not for me. And that's okay. I tried it. It wasn't my thing. Try new things, try different things. The ideas that y'all put in the comments on Jamie's questions were absolutely outstanding. So, but I created this specifically for you all. I'm going to use it in my group as well. But it's more than 50 ideas beyond getting your nails, hair, and a massage. But beyond that, creating this habit. It includes even the things for self care that includes going and getting your annual physical, getting your mammogram, getting your teeth clean, getting your eyes checked, all of those help medical things, but it includes sleep. I know sleep's a biggie for a lot of people. Nutrition, energy, all of those different things. But it also includes things like meditation, hobbies, learning something new, learn a new language. Those are all things that can be considered self-care because you're doing it for you, whether it's you just wanted something you've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano. I would love to take lessons. I don't have a piano. Actually, my husband has a little keyboard, electronic keyboard. But, there's so many different things. Learn to paint. I come from a very artistic family. Somehow it bypassed me, although if I never really applied myself. My father, my uncle, my aunt, my cousin, my daughter, even fabulous artists. I have some of their work around my house. I never got into that part. I used to do a lot of crafts, but those are all considered self-care. It's whatever resonates with you, whatever sits with you that makes you happy, that brings you joy. Even if it's just sitting outside in the environment, reading a book, that is self-care.
That sounds really amazing. That sounds like a good one. Not in the frozen cold, but when it's nice and when you got nice weather, sitting outside and reading a book is like that's a good one. So the link to download Sandy's list is it should be up above. If not, I'll drop it in the groups after we're live, but I think it's up there. Okay, so some of the comments that have come in, Sandy, some pretty good scores, 6s and 8s. So not too shabby at all. It's pretty good. Although
like
Stephanie says where she falls down is allowing fun into your life. And I think that's what you were just talking about in some of those examples is I think we all do this, Stephanie, is we do the health things or we get our hair done but that's not the fun part. Learning to play a piano, that's a fun thing, or going on a hike. This idea of try a new thing each day. You should do that, Sandy. How fun would that be inside of your group as a challenge? That would be fun. I would like that.
I like that.
Okay, so one of the things that I've heard you say, and I don't want to totally put you on the spot, but I love this so much. I actually have it written down so that I get it right. But you have said this to me before. Decide each day who you want to be and what energy you want to be in. Tell us more about that.
Well, and it's the universe conspires for us. I'm going to say for us in so many ways, because as I was doing my quiet time this morning, and I have a book a couple of books actually that I read every morning, and they have a daily thing. And this one is the Book of Awakening, and they talked exactly about that thing. And that is, and let me put my glasses on because I'm going to get it right, what they said but it's basically that we speak before we actually speak. Now, before we say a word, what does that mean? We tell our story before we even open our mouth. And we do that by how others perceive us. And I have a story that I can share with you on that. But it's just making an intentional decision every morning of what energy do you want to be in? Who is it that you want to be? So, true story, when I was working in California, and I was working at a job, and I was in a management position, and my boss came in one day, and and I was totally floored because, and I won't go into all the details, but basically what happened was I supposedly, and to this day, I still don't know who it was, and I can't even imagine that this even happened, but that I walked by a couple of people and they said hello to me and I didn't speak to them. I was floored. I'm like, what? That's so not me. And it was one of the things where they told somebody who told somebody. Anyway, it got all the way up to the superintendent's office, who then went back down to my boss, who came in to have this conversation with me. Now, he wasn't very helpful to me, other than, and I still remember these words, because I said, well, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that I would do that. What I do know about myself, especially then, is that when I would leave my office, I was so focused on where it was I was going and where what I was going, that I had a tendency to, I just was so focused on that. I didn't necessarily pay attention to who or what was around me. I can tell you from that point forward, when I walked out of my office, I made a point of making eye contact and saying hello and good morning, and, and really displaying who it is that I am. And so that's really what I mean. What he said to me that day that still resonates with me is, I asked him, well, what suggestions do you have? His comment to me was, and at the time I kind of thought, seriously, that's all you got? Was he said to me, decide when you come to work, sit in your car for a minute and decide each day which Sandy's coming into work that day. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about, dude? But it makes sense now that I know what I know now, because how we come across, it's like, who is it that you want to portray to others? When I was reading this book this morning, and it says, and I'll actually read it to you. It says, we speak before we speak, with eyes and lips, in how we tip our heads, in how we lean like trees, tired of waiting for the sun. We tell our whole story before we even open our mouths. Yet we frequently pretend that nothing is conveyed. We pretend we are strangers and deny what we learn before words. I mean, that right there, it's by how we, I mean, how many times do you look at somebody and you immediately form an opinion of, and it may or may not be accurate. So that's really what I'm talking about is, what's the energy you want to bring in? Do you want to be in the energy of grumpy, or do you want to be in the energy of joy, or whatever other acronym, or not acronym, but other, what's the word I'm looking for?
Emotion.
Adjective.
Yeah.
Couldn't think of, or emotion, or whatever that you want to, convey. And that's really what I'm talking about when I say decide who you want to be.
I love that so much. I talk about that just before you're going to get on camera. You want to stop and think, what is the right before you hit the go live button? What is the energy you want to portray, and who do you want to show up to your audience? So, but I hadn't thought about it in terms of every morning when I wake up, who do I want to be that day? Very powerful stuff.
Create your own destiny.
Yeah. Okay, last question, then we'll get into some opportunities, how people can continue to work with you. So how you've given some tips, and we've talked about a lot of stuff, and maybe they downloaded your list of 50 things, or even inside the post where people were sharing some of their ideas. In fact, I would love for you, those of you that are watching live or watching on the replay, drop your favorite self-care thing in the comments. What is your favorite, go to, always work? Sandy said, reading a book outside sounds awesome. I would love for us to kind of create a list and help Sandy add to her list. But Sandy, what advice do you give us in terms of how do you begin? I mean, if somebody's sitting out there and they've got clear boundary of work And the last thing on the to-do list is taking care of myself. How do you begin to integrate this into your life?
I would say you have to be intentional. Decide, first of all, let's decide. Decide that's what you want to do. Be intentional. My recommendation would be to plan it, put it on your calendar, honor your commitment to yourself by putting it on your calendar. And again, like I said, even if it's 5 minutes, you spend more than 5 minutes, I'm sure, scrolling on your social media. So take off 5 minutes from that and spend it on yourself. There are guided meditations. If you're not familiar with it, there are all kinds of guided meditations, and you can look them up. And there's all kinds of apps. There's Calm, there's Insight Timer, there's Moonly, there's Saged. Those are just four I can think about. Third Eye Thoughts is another one. I mean, and some of them, you can go higher and with the paid amounts, but those are all free. And you can look up meditations. I like Insight Timer. You can look up by subject. You can look up by how long. If you want a 5 minute meditation, they have you just do a search on 5 minute meditation. So, or whatever it's going to be. Journaling is another one. But just I do 5 minute journaling. And if you've not done it before, I did a challenge, and it was for a month, and I continued it. It was back in June, and I still do it. You spend a minute on gratitude. You spend a minute on whatever negative thought is bugging you that day. Spend a minute on reframing that thought. Spend a minute on it. The challenge, she gave us a question. I've changed that, and it's just a reflection. Whatever comes into my head, I spend a minute on that, and then a minute on an affirmation. Now, sometimes it's less than 5 minutes, sometimes it's more, depending on, what's going on with me. But the first thing that you have to do to start incorporating that, if you're not doing it now, is decide you want to, schedule it, and honor that time. Put it on your calendar, and it's a non-negotiable. Make it a non-negotiable. That's probably the biggest key I could say.
I say that about going live, right? Put it on your calendar and make it as important as anything else. Like you wouldn't tell a paying client, I'm sorry, I can't meet with you right now because I got all this work to do. You wouldn't do it. So you got to do that same thing with your lives, and you got to do the same thing with self-care. I love how you said sometimes it's just 5 minutes, and it made me think, like, sometimes it's just the little things, but like I put lotion on my hands, and I have all these scented lotions in my drawer right here, but I put it on and I don't enjoy it. I buy these scented lotions. Sometimes it may just be just taking a minute and just smelling that wonderful scent, and like just take 5 minutes, close your eyes. Not even 5 minutes, 1 minute. Sometimes it's those teeny things that can make like the biggest difference. I love that. Good, very good tips. Very, very good tips. Okay, here are some of the things that have come in terms of the things that you all do. So Cassandra says, being alone with my thoughts and listening to music. I do remember somebody put in the Facebook post, waking up early before anybody else is up when it's quiet in the house and just being alone in the quiet. So Cassandra, your comment made me think of that. Dre, I can call her Dre because she's my friend Dre. Dre makes herself a cup of, I'm going to mess this up, but Rehydrate and Oasis. I'm assuming that's one of her products as a way of self-care. So I love that. It could be a cup of tea. It could be whatever your drink of choice is, right, Sandy?
Yes.
Stephanie says movies. Yes. Oh, that is definitely self-care. See, I wouldn't have named that self-care, but you're so right, Stephanie. It is for sure. And then
Because it brings you joy.
Yeah, Deb plays the ukulele. I'm going to need to see a video, or I'm going to need you to maybe on a Zoom call, Deb, we're going to need a little ukulele because I think that would be fun for all of us. All of us. Okay, thank you guys for sharing. And then she's got another one here. Diffusing essential oils. That's like my lotion. Same thing. I have a diffuser, and I don't stop and think about it as self-care. But I think what I'm learning today, I'd love to know what everybody else is learning from Sandy, is that sometimes it's all the things we may already do, but it's just stopping to get joy and pleasure out of it. That's a way to self-care, right, Sandy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the reflection on it, sort of. Okay. All right. If people want to, well, let's do this. Let's talk about your challenge first because you've got a challenge coming up. So tell everybody a little bit about your challenge.
Okay. So in my group, February, if anybody watches Hallmark Channel, they've deemed February as Lovuary. And so I kind of am following that cue from them. And so in my group, February is Lovuary, and it's all about self-love. And so I'm doing a challenge. It's February 13th through 17th, and it's self-doubt to self-confidence. And every day I'll go live in my group and I'll give a prompt. I'll talk about that item for the day and I'll give a prompt and talk about why that helps your self-confidence. And they're all quick, they're all easy, but they're all designed to help you improve your self-confidence. And my group is Mindful Confidence for Women. So of course, I talk a lot about confidence, but if you think about it, even in Jamie's group, when people are, she's coaching people on going live, it's still about self-confidence. And so if you don't have that self-confidence, then you kind of stall out, if you will, and it prevents you from moving forward and doing what it is that you want to do and that you desire to do, and whether it's for personal or for business or whatever, it all comes down to self-confidence.
And the link to sign up for your challenge, it's a free challenge, right, Sandy?
It's free,
Is
yes.
is also up above, as well as she mentioned her Facebook group, Mindful Confidence for Women. So the link for that is also up above if you want to join her group. So anything else you want to tell us about your challenge, or we already talked about challenge, about your group? Anything they need to know about joining the group?
No, I mean it's a safe place. I call it, it's a judgment-free zone. We're all about getting curious, and that's what I would encourage you to anybody is just get curious. If something is you're finding it difficult, get curious about what it is that's making it difficult for you. But the group they're very welcoming. We do master classes, challenges. I post pretty almost every day, maybe not quite every day, and I go live pretty regularly at this point. Thank you, Jamie. So
all right, I want to share this comment because I love this so much. I think this was directed at me. Being mindful and enjoying the things as we do them, and I think that is my big aha for the day, for sure. For sure, I learned that. Good
if
one,
something's
Cassandra.
not bringing you joy, then stop and think, why am I doing it?
Well, I think we just do things automatically. Like I turn on my
Mhm.
diffuser and I put lotion on because my hands are dry, and I'm thinking about my dry hands and I'm thinking about solving that problem instead of taking 30 seconds and smelling and enjoying the jasmine or whatever it happens to be, right? Okay, Sandy's going to have some homework for everybody, and then she's going to wrap us up. But I want to do a couple of quick reminders on just what is coming up for all of you inside this group for the month of February. As Sandy said, it is Lovuary. I like that. I may have to adopt that. So a couple of things. First of all, let me remind everybody who is part of the Go Live League membership. We are doing a call with Sandy right after this, so she'll talk about what we're going to do here in a second. But don't forget that you get that VIP session immediately following this live show in Zoom. And if you're not in the Go Live League monthly membership and it's something you want to learn more about, reach out. I'd love to talk about it. In terms of our next guest on our show, the next one is February 17th. That's 2 Fridays from now. And that will be Debbie Pearson. And Debbie is going to talk about, we're going to kind of continue this theme. Turn your negative see, I can't even say it. Negative self-talk into positive self-love. It's one of those things. There's a tip. There's a video tip in here. It looks good on paper, but then when you say it, you get a little tongue-tied. I didn't practice that one out loud. Let me do this again. I want to do Debbie proud. Turn your negative self-talk into positive self-love. See what a little practice will do. So she will be my guest on February 17th. I would love to have you join us for that. As for the Thursdays in February inside Get on Camera, oh, it's going to be so good. You guys are not going to want to miss these Thursdays. If you are somebody who is lacking in confidence about going live or you get nervous, we are going to spend 4 Thursdays in a row. It's like a free master class on all of those subjects. It is not something you're going to want to miss. It's going to be awesome. And I am super duper, super, super excited about it. So it's going to be awesome. All right. Let me bring Sandy back on. Sandy, what are we going to do inside the VIP session in Zoom? What are we going to spend our time on?
We are going, well, if anybody has questions, obviously we'll do that, but we are going to do a tapping on, ready, drum roll, relaxation.
I can't wait. I love tapping. I just don't know how to do it. So this is perfect timing. I love it. Super excited. All right. Homework for everybody. What is one thing that you would tell everybody to do as a result of watching the show today? What should be an action that they could take?
Well, it can be easy for some, but it's not anything that you can do it while you're getting ready in the morning. And it's part of self-love and self-care. Every morning, and I mean every morning, as you're getting ready or set aside that time, look at that person in the mirror looking back at you and tell them, I love you. I want you to say that 5 times. Now, when you first started, it might feel a little uncomfortable, like, why am I telling myself that? But I promise you, if you make that a daily practice of telling that person that looks back at you in the mirror every morning 5 times, I love you, and say it with meaning. I mean, maybe when you first start out, you feel awkward and all that, but I guarantee you, as you continue to do that on a daily basis, and you don't have to carve out time, put a post-it on the mirror in the bathroom to remind yourself to say, I love you. Every time you walk by a mirror, you can do it. Say, I love you. Because that is, if you don't love yourself, then that's where it has to start. So that would be my call to action for you.
That is really good homework. I love that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a Post-it note. You all know how much I love my Post-it notes. I'm going to do that.
I thought you'd like that.
And you know what I'm also going to do? This is a really good tip for those of you that are like, I get so nervous about going live. Do that right before you go live. Apply the same exact tip that Sandy just shared. Go into the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror, and tell yourself how awesome you're going to be in this live 5 times. It's a great, I just love that so much. I got goosebumps. Such a cool one. Thank you. Sandy, thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for sharing all of this good stuff. I love what you do. I love what you're all about. I love the way that you help women feel better about themselves and be more confident. So thank you for being on my show. I really appreciate it. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a little something, maybe a couple of somethings, and made it worth your time to show up here. I think, as Sandy said earlier, self-care is as important as anything else you've got going on in your life and your business. If you want to grow your business, you got to take care of yourself. You got to not burn out. And sometimes, as she said, it's just the little things that you can do to get started that will make the biggest difference. So I can't wait to see what you all are going to apply and what you've taken out of this session. And I just thank you all for tuning in. Bye, everybody.